I did not feel any need to dwell on my own past. I did not travel back to Darak. My parents had passed on by this time, so there was nobody there to visit. Since my sisters, Zimi and Yangchen Lamo, both now lived in Lhasa with their families. I wanted to devote myself to activities that would nourish my current life, rather than take me backwards. So after a brief stop to see my sisters, I went to India on pilgrimage with a group of 20 of the Sangha from Samiling. We were heading for Bodh Gaya, the birthplace of the Buddha. Where I performed 100,000 prostrations at the Bodhi tree, under which Buddha sat for the 49 days in silent meditation. Until he attained enlightenment. It was such a moving experience for me to be at this special place. I was full of devotion and gratitude. So I threw myself into prostration practice. Literally, once again I ended up with torn and tattered knees. I failed to follow my own advice and take things at a sustainable pace. This was a problem because the next stop on my trip would be the most challenging spiritual practice I had ever undertaken, and I was not in the best physical shape for it. I was heading for Nepal to receive instructions from the renowned master, Tulku Urgyen, who had spent 2 decades in retreat in his mountaintop hermitage and was one of the few remaining practitioners in the world who held the lineage of dark retreats. It was Akon who suggested I was ready for this teaching, and I leapt at the chance to receive it. Dark retreat is regarded as one of the most advanced of all meditation practices. The retreatant spends 49 days in the pitch blackness and silence of total sensory deprivation in preparation for the bardo, or the interval between death and rebirth. The bardo state is characterized by hallucinatory experiences. Buddhists believe that when someone dies, their consciousness continues into the after-death state, but is still linked to the body of their last life. Often, beings in this state do not realize they have died, so it can be a very frightening experience for them. As the moment for rebirth draws closer, the being starts to have premonitions of the life to come. Dark retreat trains a participant to become familiar with the bardo hallucinations and so avoid being overpowered by them when the time comes. The aim is to be able to see that the hallucinations are not real, but a powerful spell. Through meditation, we can break this spell, and the enlightened state that was always there can shine through. This releases us from the cycle of death and rebirth. We also gain an ability to see daily events in our current lifetime as like the intangible events of a dream state, rather than solid reality. This can help us approach life in a lighter way and spend less of our emotional energy clinging on to or avoiding things. I was excited when I met Tulku Urgyen at the temple complex of Swayambhunath outside Kathmandu. My enthusiasm was a bit dampened when he took one look at me and pronounced that he would not allow me to begin the retreat until I'd been to hospital for a checkup. I had seriously damaged my knees doing prostrations, and I was quite unwell. He knew better than anyone that dark retreat is an intense experience for which the participant must be in the best physical and mental condition. Even highly experienced meditators find dark retreat challenging, and as Tulku Urgyen warned me, for most people it is extremely dangerous. An extended period of total sensory deprivation is virtually guaranteed to send a normal person mad. When it is imposed on people, it is a form of torture. The dark retreat hut was a single room within a larger, primitive construction made of concrete, with no windows. It had been built on the hilltop of Nagi Gompa by a Norwegian student of Tulku Urgyen, who was desperate to do dark retreat. There was a pipe to bring oxygen into the retreat room. This primitive ventilation system made a rasping noise when the wind blew, that reminded me of radongs, the Tibetan horns used in pujas. The hut had a dirt floor, and not a single chink to allow in even a gleam of light. There was no way to tell what time of day or night it was. You could see nothing at all, not even your hand in front of your nose. The silence was complete, apart from this haunting noise of the ventilation pipe, which alone would have been enough to unhinge most people. The poor Norwegian only lasted a few days before fleeing. Tulku Urgyen had prepared him carefully, but even so it had all been too much. Tulku Urgyen vowed to be more careful about who he allowed to attempt the practice from then on. I was the first candidate he had approved since those events. So I followed his advice, got myself checked out by the doctors, rested, received the instructions, and agreed that only when he judged that I was ready would I begin. An Italian pupil of mine called Renato Mezzonmento, who was one of the people from Samiling who had been on pilgrimage with me, stayed on to act as my attendant. He and I cleaned out the hut, and then, when Tulku Urgyen agreed, we made our final preparations. We went to the supermarket in Kathmandu to buy supplies. I felt the strangeness of stocking up on food in the brightly lit store, knowing I was heading for total darkness. It would be Renato's job to bring me my meal once a day, and pass it to me via a tiny hatch, like that in a medieval dungeon. Renato would also pass me a bucket and a plastic bag for me to perform my necessities. Can you imagine the trickiness of having to relieve yourself into a single plastic bag in total darkness? It was quite a challenge. I would pass the bag and bucket back the following day for Renato to dispose of. After the retreat finished, he told me he had to throw the bags into the forest. Some Nepalese street people seemed to have assumed that there might be something of value in them, given that it was a Westerner who was throwing them away, so they went foraging for the bags. They must have been terribly disappointed when they found nothing but stinking excrement. The story gave me a good laugh at the end of the retreat. Continuing from page 201, in From a Mountain in Tibet.
It was nice when I got to manage to see a bit of the place where I was there, and got to travelling to Nepal.
Yes.
And
his pilgrimage to Bodh Gaya.
Yeah, and you get to Nagi Yompa, and which is in Tulku.
All these things. It was an amazing trip, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He flew, and there he was, back in that part of the world with so many incredible, once-in-a-lifetime, very, very amazing, special things happening all together.
It's so sure there's somebody special like Urgyen Tulku at that time I left who could do that sort of thing with the dark retreats, you know.
Yes. Because some of these traditions had the possibility of not continuing unless there was someone who could carry them on.
I see. Urgyen Tulku might have just been the only one, you know.
Yes.
That could do it. But now Lama Yeshe has the transmission.
That's right.
Which is very, very good.
Yeah, so it can continue to be passed along.
That's what we passed on to the next customer.
Next customer.
It comes along.
That's right. Whoever's qualified.
Yes.
It takes a special person, doesn't it, as he's describing the challenges of doing that practice.
Yeah.
And also the benefits, truly, for a person who's been able to go through that. The benefits are unbelievable, not only for their own personal transition between one lifetime and the next, but also for their capacity to look at life in the long dream in a very different way.
it's good to have some knowledge of what is happening, what could possibly take place, and how dangerous it can be.
Yes.
I did hear that some lamas doing that retreat went off their head, went mad.
Yes.
Well,
Well,
that shows you how dangerous it can be.
that's right. Not anybody can do it.
No.
And it takes a special preparation as well as...
You have a very, very strong mind.
Yes, and lots of experience.
Yeah.
So that a person wouldn't be facing certain poisons or certain dynamics or certain inner places for the first time as much as they would if they hadn't practiced a lot.
Lama Yeshe's dream yoga practice would have been an advantage after doing that retreat.
Yes.
I think so, yes.
Yes.
That helped a good bit.
Yes. So all these practices have supported him growing as a practitioner and increasing his capacity to really serve those who are in need of the Dharma and benefit from the depth of the experiences that he's had and the wide range of things that he has encountered in the whole of his life.
Yeah.
What a treasure trove, what a treasury of wonderful qualities and also amazing experiences that are so useful in the long run.
Yeah.
Not only to himself, but to all beings.
Yes. And what a lovely job he gave to Renato too. He'll always remember that.
I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
It would take some doing to find just the right attendant.
Yeah.
Because it has to be the right kind of a person that will be able to be
Yeah.
consistent and also sensitive and ensuring that the retreat goes very, very smoothly. A lot rests on the attendant as well as the practitioner.
Yeah.
It's teamwork in action.
That's right.
So what a beautiful section, and also just understanding Lama Yeshe Rinpoche's depth of devotion when he went to Bodh Gaya and did 100,000 prostrations while he was there. I mean, a lot of people will take a very long time to do 100,000 prostrations, but it sounds like he did them quite quickly.
Yeah.
Over a relatively short amount of time.
Well, we haven't been in retreat, he's had lots of practice.
That's it.
You know, that was
he was taking his practice out into the wider world where the benefit of doing it at that particular location is just so great.
Yeah.
We do see, when we see movies or presentations of Bodh Gaya, there's always somebody there in that location doing prostrations.
Yeah.
It's a very auspicious environment in which to practice along those lines.
So it's good that he got a chance to do a bit of travelling and see some of these places before he got settled back into Samyeling again.
Yeah, it's a pilgrimage.
Yeah.
They always say it's a very good way to practice, don't they?
That's right.
You go to the places where the teachers and the realization has been. And
yeah, a lot of people go to Lake Mansaraba and places like that. And they prostrate all the way around Lake Mansaraba. You know.
So then the whole body is engaged because it's a place where people in the past have done practice and activated their own Buddha nature and been inspired and transformed.
Yeah. Yes. Well, it would have been a good experience, that, you know, for
what an amazing trip, huh?
Yeah,
all those things in one trip.
Yes. Yeah, a lot to put in.
Yes.
No wonder we went to see Choje, he wasn't in good shape. He used most of his energies up with his other activities.
Yeah, he was very busy, wasn't he? And making the most of every minute.
I wonder if he's been to Mount Kailash too.
That I don't know. We'll have to ask him.
Yeah.
We say, Lama Yeshe, have you been to Mount Kailash?
And make Ransarover.
Yes.
Together.
Quite a few places that are well known as being on the pilgrimage route.
They are very mountains, very sacred to the Hindus as well as the Tibetans.
That's right.
Yeah.
Shows up as a special place in many traditions. They
say nobody's ever been up there, climbed it. The one person that was up there was Milarepa. He flew right up to the top.
What a way to go.
That's the only person who was up there.
Yes.
Yeah, alright.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Oh, Mani Padme Huk.
Oh, Mani Padme Huk.